think it's nice to show people that, you don't need to be a Twitch partner to achieve success on Twitch.
Yeah.
That check mark is not the only metric for success for sure.
Well-
And I mean, I've been doing events with Twitch since 2017. I've done like 5 TwitchCons now.
Yeah.
And I've managed to create this great working relationship with them and find lots of other cool opportunities with Overwatch events.
Yeah.
I've had Apex share some of my work. Fortnite has retweeted my stream before. So I've had a lot of great opportunities
Cool.
still come about, and that check mark wasn't a requirement for those things to make it happen. And I think people
Right.
almost kind of think of like, I can't really do anything until I get that check mark, but that is a self-imposed restriction.
Yes.
So don't ever let the fact that you may or may not have a check mark limit what you try to do.
Welcome to Tarducks, a podcast for content creators come on to share their stories, experiences, and advice. And today, I'm so happy I have Nick. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time and coming on and do this. I've been looking forward to this one ever since I first reached out.
Yeah, I've been excited for it too.
Yeah. All right. So what we normally do is we start with 3 random questions just to get the juices flowing. Are you ready?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right. Best thing about where you live?
Best thing about where I live, it's a big city. I live in Toronto, and it just means there's a lot of stuff to do. So there's never a time where it's like, what should we do this weekend? And like you come up with no solutions.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely love that there's always something to do
Awesome.
in a big city like Toronto.
All right. So now, second question. In a pinch, is it okay to use your teeth to separate Lego bricks?
Yes. Yes,
right.
it is. Yes, it is. Ooh, wow, putting me on the spot, getting the spicy questions going right away.
Absolutely. All right.
I like to tell people not to look when I'm doing it, but I still do it.
Yeah, it's tough. Those things are stubborn sometimes.
They are
Those
indeed.
little
They are
one
indeed.
one by ones. Oh my god. Yes.
I will say most pieces nowadays can be rectified with a brick separator.
Yes.
But they're like sometimes those Technic pins, like the beams and
yeah.
axles, you got to slide them out, and your
Yeah.
teeth grab better than almost anything else.
All right. And last movie you saw?
Last movie I saw, putting me on the spot here. I want to say it was the second last Harry Potter movie.
Okay.
Me and the fiance are working through the series because we got some free tickets to the theater show.
Oh, very nice.
First child.
Oh, now have you seen it yet, or are you going to be seeing it soon?
Gonna be seeing it soon. We have one more movie to do, and then the show's next week. So
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Now, have you not seen the movies before, or?
I had when I was growing up, I kind of stopped with the movies because
Yeah.
it was just feeling like a lot to keep up with. But then I stumbled upon the audiobooks, and
Yes.
I was really liking the audiobooks, so I did like each audiobook followed by each movie.
Yeah.
So I did that over a couple of months, a few years back.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just rewatching them to get refamiliarized, and then my fiance hasn't seen them all.
Oh my God.
So we're making sure she kind of knows the full story before we go and see the show.
That's awesome. Yeah. Now, did you do the audiobooks with Stephen Fry reading them?
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I actually don't remember because I know there's 2 versions.
Yes.
And I'm not sure which one I listened to.
All right. So let's get rolling into this. So what did Nick do before you first went live or created your YouTube video?
You know what? Funnily enough, I will say I've been doing content creation for a long time. Not as BrickinNick, but
Yeah.
I think when I was in like grade 8, I uploaded like a stop motion video, which you do not want to look at because it's
Yeah.
awful. But it actually weirdly caught the algorithm. I think it ended up with like 800,000 views or something
Holy crap.
ridiculous. It was a very weird thing. I never capitalized on that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But before I was doing content creation, I studied for mechanical engineering in university here in Toronto. And I did work in the world of engineering for a little bit.
Nice.
Not really in what I wanted to be doing with engineering, though. I found it was very difficult to find opportunities related to. I did mechanical engineering, and I really wanted to apply more of that mechanical related knowledge.
Yeah.
But I basically could not find any opportunities relating to that. And so while I was in engineering, I was like, let me start exploring this world of content creation and stuff.
Yeah.
I did also work in retail for a very long time. I was actually very lucky to work at the Lego store for many, many
okay.
years. And then I also worked at Apple
Yeah.
while I was kind of building up some of my
Nice.
content creation stuff.
Very cool. All right. How about video games? Would you? What are some of your first video game memories?
First video game memories, I would say N64 and Game Boy are
Yeah.
definitely big parts of my childhood. Remember a lot of Mario Kart, Pokemon Stadium were really, really fun. And then I think my favorite generation of Nintendo was probably GameCube.
Yeah.
Like the Switch is phenomenal and it's incredible what they're putting out for it. But like in terms of nostalgia,
Yeah.
GameCube was definitely one of my favorite generations, like Mario Party and Mario Kart Double Dash. I loved having 2 characters on the carts.
Yeah.
Tons of fun there.
Nice. And now all-time favorite game or games?
Probably would have to be Destiny/Destiny 2.
Yeah.
It's the game I've definitely spent the most time with by far.
Yeah.
I did love Star Wars Battlefront 2 growing up, though, on PS2.
Yeah.
I think that was actually the first game I ever played online as well.
Okay.
Me and my friend would clog up the house phone line, be on our old school cable units, land in, and we would chat while we would play with the other headphone on or whatever. So nice. that was some fun times for sure.
Nice. Any video games you're playing these days?
Definitely still Destiny here and there.
Yeah.
My video game time has fallen off a lot recently, unfortunately, but squeezed in some Fall Guys with the fiance. That's a fun one for us to play together when we want to just chill and kind of relax and have some fun.
Yeah.
I played through the Lego Brick Tales game recently because I got a free code from that.
Yeah.
So that was a fun little game to do some more building in, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I like Apex. I've enjoyed Fortnite in the past. So yeah, I'm definitely like an FPS guy, and then like action adventure, I guess would be the other category.
Okay. All right, let's talk about Lego memories. What do you remember your first Lego set?
I do. It's actually in the background here. Do you want me to grab it?
Yeah, let's see it.
Sure, let's do it. And although I'm not actually like 1,000% sure this really is my first Lego set, but it's the first one I have a memory of acquiring. This is from like the late 90s. It was part of a theme called Rescue, as you can see on the hood there. Just a fun little theme with like little types of rescue vehicles. There were like jet skis and other wheeled vehicles and helicopters and boats and stuff. So it's just like a cute little theme. And I just remember picking this out at the store when I was little. And there was something about the way those bricks interlocked together that just really drew me in. Yeah. And obviously brought me to where I am today.
Absolutely,
with all
yeah. So I'm a lot older than you. So my first memory is the Lego space set from the early 80s with like Benny.
Oh, you are just after my own heart. I don't know if you can see, I actually have a triple stack
I see that,
of the new Galaxy Explorer in the background, but they're all based on, of course, that classic stuff. And just a phenomenal theme.
Yeah, I remember it was like a 3-foot jean material circle of the moon, and it was a string. So you put all the Legos in, and you had your bag of Legos. So that was.
I'm actually a little envious that you got to grow up during that time, because man, that was like a very I want to say formative time for Lego and Lego sets. So
it was, but they've had their ups and downs. They had sort of the dark, where they sort of almost disappeared, and then that resurgence. It was just it's a neat trip to look back.
It is indeed. Yeah, Lego's had a very interesting journey.
Yeah. Now, what are some of your favorite IPs that they've released?
Star Wars, of course, is definitely a big standout.
Yeah.
I think that played a big part in drawing me further into the hobby.
Yeah.
So very thankful that they did that. I'm a really big fan. It's not necessarily an IP, but I love Lego Ideas.
Yes.
Because it gives fans the opportunity to become the designers, which is admittedly one of my dreams is to be a Lego set designer someday. So I'm a big fan of Ideas and that it gives people that opportunity. And then I don't know, it's just been really cool to see the move into video games more recently. We got the Horizon Zero Dawn Tall Neck there. Obviously all the Nintendo sets have been phenomenal as well. So there's just been so much fun that they've been diving into over the last few years, especially.
Yeah, the whole Lego Ideas thing has really exploded. I remember they do one every quarter or something like that, and now you're just seeing all sorts of you're seeing Harley Davidson, you're seeing just all these cars, Porsches, and things like that. It's really cool to see.
It is super impressive.
And now, is there an elusive set out there that you would love to get your hands on?
You know what? I've honestly been really fortunate, and I've gotten most of the sets I've wanted. I did miss a couple sets that I really wanted, and I did have to go down the unfortunate route of completely overpaying for them a few years after they were released. But I rectified that mistake, and I've been quite satisfied with most of what I've acquired otherwise.
Yeah.
I've always said I'd like to have some of the first idea sets, but they are just... It is incredibly difficult to justify the cost of those ones.
Yeah, I remember for years I was chasing the UCS Falcon, Millennium Falcon, and luckily they did a re-release of that or a newer version because it was just crazy. You look at $5,000 and
no, exactly.
It's crazy.
It's wild. It's wild what they get up to.
And then the other thing, living in Canada, Lego sets are more expensive than what we pay down here.
For sure, a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I feel like it kind of works out relatively, especially with like, I don't know, I guess the dollar now and stuff these
Yeah.
days. So it's not, doesn't feel so bad. I mean, prices have gone up more recently for a lot of Lego sets, though. They've made their first adjustment for inflation.
Yeah.
And it just feels a little unnecessary because I mean, I think we all know Lego's doing just fine regardless of
Yes.
inflation.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they are a company. You know, it's important
Yep.
that they keep profiting. And I mean, they don't really have investors, but like they are because they're still a family-owned company, crazily
Mm-hmm.
enough. But I'm sure they still have a board, and they got to make the board members happy and whatever.
Yeah.
So I get it. You want to stay profitable as a business, but
Yep. Yeah,
it just makes it a little bit harder for Lego fans to stay Lego fans.
it does, yeah. My gauge was always basically for a 1,000-piece set was about $100. That was my
Exactly,
normal.
yeah. The 10 cent per part ratio. It's a nice one to kind of play by. And luckily there is still a lot of good stuff out there that
Yeah.
does fall within that. I will throw lots of love at the Galaxy Explorer for being a very good candidate for that kind of price point and value. So yeah.
All right. And now over the years, what is one of your, is there any particular mock or MOC that sticks out and that, your favorite?
Yeah, I love that you know all the Lego terms, by the way. It's great. But I do want to share, just for anyone who might be listening, if you're wondering what an MOC or mock is, it's my own creation. So that means a custom build. I always like to make sure people highlight that.
Yeah.
My favorite build from over the years is probably the Nintendo Switch, which is right behind me here.
Okay.
I built that one in 2020. It was actually intended for Lego Ideas, but I dropped it on Ideas the same week they announced the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Oh.
And as soon as they dropped that set, they prohibited any like Nintendo gaming consoles from being posted on Ideas. So it's like,
man.
but it's got sliding Joy-Cons, it's got swappable game cartridges that have little game scenes, and it was just a really fun one to bring to life. And people's excitement when they see the Joy-Con sliding in and out and stuff is hard to beat. So
Yeah.
it's definitely up there.
Okay. And now, in your opinion, is there an underappreciated Lego theme?
Underappreciated Lego theme.
Like they had the Monster series a few years back. They had, they went down like Ninjago, Chima, or was it Chima? Legends of
Chima, no. Wow, you got a good encyclopedia there.
Well, you got. I've been. So I've got 3 kids. My oldest is 22. So when the kids were Lego age, it was like, oh, I can jump back into this. So then things went crazy.
And I mean, I want to say I very much appreciate all the awesome Lego-ness in the background there. And you, of course, were kind enough to show me some more pictures of your epic collection. So it's always awesome seeing more Lego love everywhere. I would say, honestly, Friends, I think, is actually a highly underappreciated theme.
Yeah.
And I will also highlight Elves being kind of tied into that. It was the same mini doll characters that Friends had. And I can understand that people don't love the mini dolls because they're quite a departure from that traditional Lego minifigure that we know and love. But I think a lot of the colors and parts that we've gotten from Friends have been absolutely phenomenal and have really helped all of us Lego builders like expand our library of kind of parts and colors to work with.
Yeah.
So and I do also want to highlight that, especially over the last few years, like the quality of Friends sets has especially stepped up, and like they really do feel like they're on par with like almost the quality of like Ninjago sets and stuff. So I think just because of the title of the theme, a lot of people kind of skip over it when there's a lot of really great builds in there.
Yeah. Yeah. You're so right with the Friends, because I have, I've got 2 daughters, and when they came out, it was just like, oh, they just gravitated to it. And it seemed like a no-brainer. And the Elves as
absolutely.
well. Yeah. And then you bring up a good point, the quality of the Lego brick. When you look at the other competitors out there, the knockoffs, there's just, they fit, they click. There's no separation or anything like that.
They really do have it down to a very exact science. Like their margin for error is unbelievably small. I can never remember. It's like several decimal points of like a centimeter or something like that. It's absolutely bonkers, the kind of quality that they've managed to get into these bricks. And it obviously makes for a very compelling building system, as many of us have become suckers for them. So
yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I spent many hours. My son liked the Halo stuff, which came from Mega Block, and it just, that was putting that together. It was not comparable to what we get from the quality of Lego.
Yeah.
And now, is there a certain IP you would like to see Lego come out with?
I mean, I feel like we've been very spoiled, so I don't like to be too demanding, but I do think companies like Pokemon are a huge miss. And unfortunately, one of the competitors, Mega Bloks or Mega Constructs, does have Pokemon.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, like why do you continue to be with the slightly inferior option when you could be with Lego and be doing so much more?
Right. Yeah.
And I do think Destiny, of course, has a lot of potential as well. I think it skirts the line of like violent FPSs as Overwatch did, because like I was like, Lego's never gonna make an FPS ever. And then all of a sudden they did Overwatch, and I'm like, well, if you're gonna go break your own rules, you might as well do it a little more.
Absolutely.
Because they called it an action adventure team game or something like that, and I was like, all right, you're getting real creative there, eh? So yeah, I mean, again, we've had Destiny from Mega Constructs as well.
Yeah.
And they definitely did some cool stuff with it, but I don't think it would be near the same level as what Lego would do with it. So hopefully someday we continue to head down in that direction and get some more cool stuff. Do you have any standouts that you would like to see?
Well, because I'm an child of the 80s, G.I. Joe always stuck out. But G.I. Joe was made by some other, I think Hasbro or some partnership they had. And it just was not as cool. But then again, it goes against the whole shooting thing, but that would be
very military, unfortunately.
But we do have brick arms, I think it is, other ways of created some really good avenues for bringing especially like a lot of the other builders out there that like to do like World War II and Vietnam and things like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Super fun.
So now you said that you started with YouTube, because one of my comments was going, or one of the questions was going to be, what was did you go YouTube or did you go Twitch? But YouTube at an early age was really your first
sort
start.
of.
Yeah.
But it did end up being Twitch. That was like kind of where I really found kind of my vibe, I guess, with content creation. I had discovered Twitch actually because of Destiny way back when. I was playing with a couple of friends when it came out. And then they slowly started to fall off Destiny. I was not so interested in falling off of Destiny. I was really loving it. So I started exploring, where can I find more people playing Destiny and engaging with Destiny content.
Yeah.
So on Reddit, I was reading through the Destiny subreddit, and I kept seeing these references to, you can play with streamers and get help from streamers. And I was like, this sounds really interesting. So I, of course, made my way over to the website. Discovered this absolutely ginormous platform I had no idea existed.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is a really cool concept and idea. And I remember playing with my first streamer, and just it was like, oh, it's really cool that I can get help with this and interact with this person that I'm watching. And then they were also actively pushing creative at the time on the platform. I think it was late 2015, early 2016.
Yeah.
So they just created the creative category and were really amping it up. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, all this great creative content. I'm like, someone's got to be doing Lego building on here, because it's just a huge place. I just happened to have not heard of it. But it turned out no Lego person had really heard of it, and there was nobody doing Lego content on there. And so I thought that was a really unique opportunity. Hey, maybe I could be someone who helps bring some Lego content to Twitch.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what inspired me to start my journey. And luckily, a couple of other people kind of got the similar vibe at a similar time.
Yeah.
And so I think within a few months, there were several of us that kind of started streaming Lego. And that slowly grew into just more and more people getting into Lego building on Twitch. And luckily, as that kind of happened, we found a lot of cool ways to integrate Lego into the broader Twitch community.
Yeah.
And we managed to bring Lego to TwitchCon in 2017. And then that just kind of slowly kept growing into doing lots of cool, Lego adjacent events with Twitch and other, Twitch related things. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, because it was so cool. Because I don't know if it was, I think maybe Dr. Lupo's wife, Sam, I was just looking through posts. Maybe she highlighted something like, oh my God, BrickinNick, Legos on Twitch. What a great concept. And it's like, oh yeah, there's cooking. Why not have Legos? And yeah, it was such a cool thing to see. Yeah, it
was really fun having Sam involved. This is Dr. Lupo. And that I was actually one of my best pieces of content, I feel, was something I created called Battle of the Bricks, which is basically a live Lego building competition. Yeah. And so I've done 3 seasons of that show. It's unfortunately been a while. It's a very difficult thing to kind of run and manage, but I had Mrs. Dr. Lupo as part of my 3rd season. The first 2 seasons I did more kind of Lego builder focus. Yeah. So I invited really great builders that I knew from within the community to compete in Lego building challenges. And then for the third season, I mixed it up a little bit and invited a bunch of content creators.
Yeah.
So I focused a little bit less on the creative building and more just like doing silly like speed-based challenges.
Yeah.
You know, building with one hand and glasses, funny glasses, and all sorts of wacky, weird ways to build Lego sets under timed pressure. But she actually won her season, Mrs. Dr. Lewis. She was awesome. So it was really, really fun having her involved.
Oh, cool. And now, how would you describe your stream?
My stream most of the time is a very chill place. There are definitely moments of hype and chaos.
Yeah.
But I think the nature of Lego building in general is just that it's a very kind of slow pace, relaxed activity. You really can't kind of rush and like have crazy hype moments with Lego building necessarily.
Yeah.
And that it's not like a video game where it's like, you know, all of a sudden you get some crazy kill streak or some wild kill, and like in an FPS, and you know, the crowd goes wild. You don't get those kind of moments in just assembling some Lego bricks.
Yeah.
But it does have a nice vibe in that it just feels like somewhere you can just sit back, relax, chill out.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people really like the sound of Lego building as kind of like background noise as well. They almost, I guess, have like an ASMR type property to it.
Right.
I don't like hyper focusing on that, and there are people who do Lego ASMR content, which I think is really fun for the people who enjoy it.
Oh my god! Like putting your hands in bricks and making that noise.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a very nice, relaxed kind of environment, and then you occasionally, you know, you get the kind of the end result of what is being built, whether it's a Lego set or a custom build, and it can be kind of cool to feel like you were part of the process. Of seeing how this thing came to life. So,
cool. Yeah, I got to think one of the other neat things about being able to, you know, interact with a content creator who's focused on Legos is somebody who's building something or not sure how a technique happens or how a technique is put together. They can ask you and pull the pieces together and here's how.
It can definitely have a bit of an education piece to it. So it can be really, really cool to kind of share as I'm exploring and discovering techniques that are working for me with the build and stuff. I can kind of directly share that and hopefully be inspirational to people in how they might go about their building.
Cool. And now back to your first streams. That, you know, it's always an experience. Like you're going live, and now you've got strangers coming in asking you questions. What was that like?
It was very weird. I think I still have like a highlight from my very first stream.
Yeah.
I was building something from Destiny, of course, because I wanted to kind of tie my two worlds together.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it was like someone that I had interacted with on Twitter a couple of times, just like a fellow Destiny fan that I had figured out was Canadian as well.
Yeah.
Just hopped in and we chatted a little bit about building in Destiny, and I was really, really lucky to kind of have someone there for my first stream. I know not many people are so lucky.
Yeah.
But it just was like felt really cool and neat to kind of have that ability to interact while I was doing something I enjoy.
Yeah.
And just made it more of an engaging process. So
oh wow,
I was really appreciative for that.
And now, what year did you go live on Twitch? Was it 2017?
2016, January 1st of 2016. I picked a very specific day so I wouldn't forget because my memory's the worst. And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to start this, I'm going to start it on a very obvious day so I never forget when my first stream was.
So you've been doing this for a long time. So over the years, what is, you know, in your opinion, using the tools that Twitch has offered, what is some of the, you know, good things that you've seen change?
In terms of like on the platform itself, or
like the tools they provide for you and things like that.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I've ever like taken advantage of a lot of the tools Twitch has put forth. Maybe I think because I don't fit in the typical realm of like gaming content, a lot of the stuff that would be really cool, like extensions and things that kind of really enhance the like gamer viewer relationship, don't necessarily apply to me a lot. So I will say I was part of a Twitch Drops event once for Overwatch. It was a very felt out of left field thing, but they were like, "Hey, we have this like Lego themed event happening in Overwatch, and we would love to have you as part of it to be something a little bit different from the gaming content." And that was by far one of the coolest opportunities of my Twitch career. I think I peaked at like 18,000 viewers in a stream. Going from like my normal 40 to 60. So that was a pretty wild experience, but it was really cool seeing people be excited about something a little bit different. And it was just definitely fun getting to share my love of building with so many people.
Cool. And now, you know, that brings up a good point about, you know, when you go from 40 to 60 and you either have that big raid or that big event happen, how do you prepare for something, you know, going from X numbers to triple X numbers?
I don't think there's any like true preparation. You can obviously do some things to help make everything a little bit more manageable. I think I was using like the 2-second slow mode to just slow down the pace of chat just a little bit so people weren't spamming as much. Honestly, having some quick mods on hand as well was important because there were lots of people who were very excited to troll the random Lego dude
Oh,
at the
okay.
Overwatch event. And I mean, like, having been on Twitch for a few years before that, I've certainly grown some thick skin to the silliness and ridiculousness of trolls. I know it can definitely affect people differently, but I've gotten very good at just like not taking any of that seriously because those people are not worth putting any time or energy into.
Agree. Yep.
So yeah, just having some mods that were ready to kind of act quickly and keep a little bit of a better pace and vibe going was great for sure. And then you just learn that like with chat operating at that speed, you're just not going to catch everything.
Yeah.
You pick out what your eye catches, you engage what you can.
Yeah.
And I think people are pretty understanding that you're not going to be able to respond to every message in that kind of environment. So just do your best. And I think people will be very appreciative of you just trying to be there as much as you can.
Yeah. Very cool. And now what's your Twitch partner story? I always ask people.
I'm not partnered on
Oh,
Twitch.
really?
So, I ain't got that story to share just yet.
Oh, okay. Not yet.
Yeah.
Well, you got some Twitch cons.
I almost kind of like it. Like, it's not that I like that I'm not partnered.
Yeah.
There are obviously a lot of great perks to being partnered, and I would love to have some of those, especially for my community. More emotes and quality options would be some really nice things. I've actually always kept my stream at 7, 20, 30.
Yeah.
Just to ensure more accessibility, because I do know, like, being a Lego builder, lots of younger people watch, and they don't necessarily have access to the best internet or best devices.
Yeah.
So I always like to try to keep my streams more accessible, but I'd love to stream in higher quality someday. So quality options would be nice.
Cool.
But I think it's nice to show people that, you don't need to be a Twitch partner to achieve success on Twitch.
Yeah.
That check mark is not the only metric for success for sure. And I mean, I've been doing events with Twitch since 2017. I've done like 5 TwitchCons now.
Yeah.
And I've managed to create this great working relationship with them and find lots of other cool opportunities with Overwatch events.
Yeah.
I've had Apex share some of my work. Fortnite has retweeted my stream before. So I've had a lot of great opportunities still come about, and that check mark wasn't a requirement for those things to make it happen. And I think people almost kind of think of like, I can't really do anything until I get that check mark, but that is a self-imposed restriction. So don't ever let the fact that you may or may not have a check mark limit what you try to do.
Well, the only, it's just a check mark. Nothing changes from a revenue standpoint. It's not like all of a sudden you get the check mark, now you can coast. The next day, you still got to, put the work in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So now, since you went live, what's been some of the, what's some of the tougher things to do?
Some of the tougher things. I think being consistent with streaming is really, really tough. Just like in terms of how much energy can go into an individual stream. I think people really underestimate like how much of a toll just being kind of present and active and engaging for several hours on edge can really be. I do find after most streams, I'm ready to just shut down for an hour or two. Like I can't really operate beyond just like the bare minimum because it just takes a lot out of you. So I think that's a big thing for sure. And then just like continuing to push yourself to find different ways to get yourself out there. Yeah. So even just like again, the TwitchCon was something huge for me, and that was like when I developed that relationship with Twitch, it was that TwitchCon had put out a call for panels.
Yep.
I didn't have a panel idea in mind. I wanted to build a giant Twitch logo at TwitchCon, but I was like, I don't really know how else to get this out there, so I'm going to submit this as a panel and see what happens, right? So like it might seem like counterintuitive, like, oh, this is not what they're asking for. Like that would be a waste of time, but it actually led to a great end result for me. So I think just finding unique ways to get yourself out there and not being afraid to put yourself out there is so important, and can be a really tough thing though. And I still struggle with it all the time. Like I'd love to do another season of Battle of the Bricks, but I think like knowing how much work and time needs to go into it, I'm honestly just scared to like have to put that effort in again, because I know how tough it can be. Yeah. So it's something we all struggle with, I think, regularly. And when you do, though, get yourself out there and push yourself beyond your limits and put yourself outside of your comfort zone, that's when some of the most rewarding things happen. So I certainly encourage everyone to continue to push those boundaries.
Cool. Yeah, and one of the other things that people don't realize, and I didn't really think of it until just talking to you now about this, is being a Lego streamer, Lego content creator, your cam is on. People who are playing video games, they can switch the camera off. You've got to be turned on, and nobody wants to watch a content creator who's not enjoying themselves and not just not there, because they can just plenty more they can go tune into. So you need to be on 100%.
Indeed. And I do want to know, like, I don't ever want to be one of the people who's like, you have to stream all the time. You should never take breaks. Like, again, recognizing that you do need to be on. When I don't feel like I can quite be on, I'm not afraid to like step back and say, hey guys, you know what? I need a night off. I need a night to recharge. I'm not going to be at my best tonight, and I want to make sure I'm bringing that to you. So it can be better to kind of step back and cool off.
Yeah.
Although I will note there are lots of people out there who do just do kind of the hand cams for streaming.
Okay.
So you don't necessarily need to feel like you need to put your face on, let's say, for people. There are some people who actually have been doing VTubing with Lego building as well. So that can be a great way to, kind of shield a little bit of yourself if you want to, and just, express yourself in a little bit of a different way. So there are certainly lots of avenues to still be able to enjoy Lego content without feeling like you have to have the whole your face cam on and everything like that.
And the other aspect of this too is the whole mental health aspect of it too. You know, it takes a lot. There's a lot more than just hopping on, going live. There's the back end pieces, the social media aspect of it. You're creating your videos. There's so much more than just hitting that go live button.
There is, for sure. And I think that's like one of the things I've come to be very aware of, is just how much time and energy goes into kind of surrounding streaming. Because streaming itself, like, is like, once you get to find a groove with it and stuff, it can actually be, quite fun and easy to do. But it's like, streaming by itself is never really going to lead you to like great success. You need to be putting yourself out there on as many platforms as you can, creating that TikTok, YouTube, Twitter content. I mean, we'll see about Twitter anyways, but, you really got to be putting yourself out there as much as you can to continue to find and grow your community. And so it's just, it's very hard to appreciate, I think, from behind the scenes, because there's so much that goes into it. Even just, staying on top of OBS updates and streaming software updates and alerts and commands. There's so many little things that can just really start to kind of weigh down on you and bear down on you and make you feel overwhelmed. So it's just a lot to stay on top of.
Definitely. And now, looking back over the years, what's are some of the highlights that stick out that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. I got to go do this.
TwitchCon has continued to be a massive highlight for me, for sure. I've gotten to meet a lot of really cool people at TwitchCon. Being part of, I would say, the GCX marathon is a really incredible one. That's the Gaming Community Expo Marathon, previously known as GuardianCon. I've gotten to do 2 blocks as part of that event, and I've felt wildly like out of place in those sometimes, in that, I'm not a partner and I'm not some like big name, but they still choose to have me. They still think I bring value to that, and that's honestly like a really huge compliment to know that people think what I do is cool enough, and even though I don't meet those typical kind of requirements, I still bring something to the streams. I've of course gotten to be part of Build Against Cancer as well, which is Dr. Lupo's amazing annual charity event. And I do think it's pretty appropriate that I'm part of the Build Against Cancer event, because there's a fun little play on the name there. So having some Lego building fun in the mix is, of course, really cool. And it just felt like such an honor to be able to use my platform and use what I do, as my passion, to be able to help support such an amazing cause with St. Jude. And, I love St. Jude because, to me, it's so important that every kid out there gets the opportunity in life to, obviously there are more important things, but also it's really, I really want to make sure that every kid gets the opportunity to explore and have fun with Lego building, because I think it's such a magical thing that can be such a point of inspiration and creativity for people. And so to imagine that there are kids out there who unfortunately never maybe get to experience the joy of building, it's just really devastating, among all of the other things that, of course, cancer takes away from people. But I love, just knowing that I'm helping maybe make sure that every kid someday will have the opportunity to try Lego building.
Yeah, this is one of the really cool things I've noticed is the content creation community, the Twitch, what Dr. Lupo and Sam Lupo have done to raise money, raise awareness and whatnot for St. Jude's. It is just so cool to see. And the money they bring in for it is fantastic.
It's awesome. And it definitely has a huge impact. So
yeah, absolutely. So now over to the YouTube side, when did you start sort of taking the YouTube side more, seriously, or putting, focus on content you're creating for that?
I feel like YouTube has been very on and off for me for a very long time. I think it started a little more in earnest in like 2017, I want to say. So about a year after I kind of found my groove with streaming, I realized YouTube would be an important part to tie into that. But I've definitely been very on and off with it, and continue to be. More recently, I'd say I've been decently consistent with like some short content, at least maybe from YouTube's perspective. TikTok, I don't think has been as happy with my consistency. I feel like their demand for content is a little bit more intensive, but yeah, like I do think it is very important to kind of find something that works for you in terms of like how you can create video content from some of your existing content. I like to kind of create like build tutorial videos. I always like to try to put an education piece in there. And then, just like highlighting some of my cooler builds, doing fun things with some of my cooler builds. I've certainly, brought in some of my builds to like silly events and silly places to make some fun content with them. So yeah, just like exploring kind of different ways to share my love for building.
Cool. Yeah, the whole TikTok thing, that's a mystery to get, what hits, with this video is like.
Oh yeah, feels really all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, since you started down this career, this path, was there a certain moment that it hit that's like, I can do this full time, or was it just a gradual momentum you had going?
It was certainly like a very slow, long build up to all of it, but weirdly, like I was reached out to by Amazon in I think late 2019, and they were like, "Hey, we're testing out this live streaming platform." And I was like, "Live streaming on Amazon? What?" Like I was like, "Why would I want to do that? Amazon's not a place for live streaming. Like this makes no sense to me." And thankfully, a very good friend of mine who's much smarter than I was like, "Nick, this is Amazon. This could be a big opportunity. Don't say no. Like, check this out, explore." And so, in addition to live streaming on Twitch, I started exploring live streaming on Amazon, which was kind of like, it actually tied really well, weirdly, into my background with retail. And that it's like a very customer service focused kind of platform, in that you can live stream, but also showcase product at the same time.
Yeah.
And I obviously didn't want to, I don't know, kind of feel like a sellout, I guess, with a lot of that content. I think it's very easy to, and admittedly, there are lots of people doing it very successfully on Amazon, and that is totally, if they're comfortable with that, that's fine. But I'm not that kind of person. I struggle as it is to even, just like remind people to sub to the stream and things like that. I'm not a big fan of asking for things. So I always just try to find like, okay, how can I organically share, products that I enjoy while actually enjoying them? So I early on did a lot of gaming. Yeah. And then I, of course, did a lot of Lego building on there, too. It was a great place for me to do more set building, which I find I don't like doing as much on my normal stream. I like doing creative stuff on Twitch. Yeah. So it was a great place for me to kind of separate out my content a little bit. And weirdly, that slowly turned into something that became full-time work. Wow. And it was just like, after a couple of months of doing it, I was like, all right, you know what? I think I'm feeling like this is consistent enough. And this has been a great enough opportunity for me that I can step away from all of my other kind of normal work, move away from retail and do this full time.
Excellent. So, yeah. Now, speaking of building, what do you like to build? Do you like to do minis? Do you like to do big sets?
Ooh, I like to build at all different scales. I have a very strong appreciation for small stuff when it comes to Lego, because I love the intricacy of using small pieces to achieve, different techniques and stuff like that. But I certainly also enjoy a lot of the stuff that big builds can offer. So I have built in a very wide variety of sizes and scales, and I think there can be fun from all of it. Yeah. Just depends on kind of what grabs my interest and what I might be building, and how can these things be fun in different ways.
Yeah. And now, is there a certain technique or something that you learned over the years of like, wow, that was a tough thing to figure out, and how do I get this piece to wrap around this piece?
For sure. I do think there is a lot of need for Lego math when it comes to building. And when you develop a good understanding of how Lego bricks can kind of interact in different directions and orientations, and how the math kind of plays into that, I do think that really helps you unlock another level of building, and that you can now suddenly do things you weren't able to do before. Yeah. So just having a really good understanding of how you can build in different directions and how that kind of maps up. I feel like I should demonstrate, because like this is really confusing to hear otherwise. I swear I used to have a thing. I don't really have a thing handy right here, but I'll kind of try to show you. So for example, when you stack Lego pieces, if you look here, you'll see like this is one plate at the bottom, and then a brick makes up 3 plates, and then the white piece on top would be another plate. So that's 5 plates total in height. Lego plates are like the thinner version of a Lego brick, for example, which is the red piece in the middle. What's cool is 2 studs, so the things that are usually on top of a Lego brick, actually equal in length to 5 plates. That's a really unique property that allows you to basically kind of create little cubes and squares And so all of a sudden you can do so many different things with the pieces, and they just interact in such a different way that it really opens up lots of doors for how you can get in on some building fun.
Neat. All right, now regarding
that was a little technical. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. No, that's good. I like that. So now regarding your stream, so you've done Battle of the Bricks, you know, the chat with Lego Masters, viewer bills. What else? You know, those are all unique things that you don't get from a typical gamer stream.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I really would say I have like another big idea. I would love to continue Battle of the Bricks. Chat with the Masters has obviously been something really cool, kind of fun to do in the moment. I'm part of the current season of Lego Masters airing on Fox and CTV in Canada. So it's a really, really, you know, it was a very crazy experience, one that I really, really enjoyed. It's definitely one of the hardest things I've ever done. And I certainly, you know, would put forward a word of warning for anyone who's considering it, because like as ready as you think you are, you're not. Like it's just more intense than you'll ever imagine.
Yeah.
But it's just really, really cool kind of having an opportunity every week to kind of share and reflect upon that experience with all the fellow contestants. And just give a little bit of insight into like, you know, what our ideas were, what our thoughts were behind each of the challenges and each of the builds. So yeah,
that's a cool thing you added into your stream. After every episode, here is sort of the breakdown of your builds and whatnot. That was that's really, really, you know, cool way of doing that. And now speaking of Lego Masters on Fox, so you were on the show with Stacy, and who is Stacy, first of all?
Stacy is a friend of mine. We actually connected through Amazon. We both stream on Amazon. Oh, okay. So that is a big part of our jobs as full-time content creators. And when the casting for the third season of the show kind of started, I was thinking, I'm like, okay, who do I know or who am I aware of that likes Lego, is doing content creation as a job, and is also Canadian, was kind of a bonus one. And so I had noticed Stacy had been doing a lot of Lego building on her stream over the last year. And I was like, she's obviously, you know, is very comfortable on camera as well. I think it's an important thing for a TV show, of course. You want someone who is going to be ready to, you know, just put their best forward, and who's going to be creative and fun and energetic. And so I was like, man, Stacy's just like meets all of these requirements and more. Like, so I reached out and I was like, hey, look, I know we've never met. We had like stumbled upon each other's streams a couple of times, as you do as streamers. But I was like, hey, I know we've never met or anything, but like I'm, you know, working towards applying to be on this show, and I need a partner, and I think me and you align on a lot of really fun stuff. So what do you think of like trying this out with me? And she was down for it. And we just went for it, and lo and behold, it magically worked out. And our first time building together actually got to be like on the show.
Oh my God.
Wild. So
that's so crazy.
We had done some like virtual building practice beforehand, but definitely doesn't replace building together, especially not in an environment like the Lego Master Set is. So
now, how did you get involved with the show? Did you just see previous seasons like, you know, I think I could do this?
So they're actually very like intensely active about recruiting people. Okay. So they scour Instagram and other social medias to find people who like Lego. And I'm sure you can imagine there are tons of people who are posting Lego related stuff on there. So from the very first season, they had reached out and been like, hey, you know, we really love what you do. And obviously I think, you know, seeing that I live stream and stuff, they can already get a sense that I'm comfortable in front of the camera and stuff. So that goes a long way. And so we've been talking for many years now with some of the casting people. Yeah. And it just felt like the stars kind of aligned for this for us to be on the third season. So
cool. And now, when did you get word that you're on, or was it just a lot of back and forth and it wasn't really that big of a surprise?
The casting process is certainly a lot of back and forth. And unfortunately, I am, you know, restricted in how much I can actually say about it. But I think it would have been maybe around like late February that we kind of got the like actual like, okay, this is happening. You have a plane ticket. You're going down to where the show is filmed and stuff. And I don't actually even know if I can say that there was like a real moment where I felt the impact of it, because it's just like it all just feels so surreal. Like, how is any of this happening at all? Oh my God. So like, you just, and being a Lego builder, of course, and I'm admittedly a little competitive at times. Like, I think it was very hard to kind of just step back and like be appreciative when I'm like, okay, this is a competition. Like, I really got to be on my A game here. I got to practice and prepare. So it was very hard to kind of pull myself out of that. And
you did it with Stacy, who you haven't built with. All the other competitors there, they all sort of, you know, work together. I will note, you would be surprised at how many of the teams there are very similar, and that, as one of my fellow contestants very kindly put it, there's like a show and a pony. Yeah. So there's
someone who really knows what they're doing with the brick usually,
Yep.
and then someone who brings a little bit more of the personality and the fun to it.
Yep.
And I think most teams kind of fell into that category.
Yep.
Because naturally it's hard to find two Lego builders that like have like that shared story and stuff, and kind of can bring that fun, energetic like personality and stuff to life as well. So it just ends up happening a lot of the time that you get like one builder pairing up with a friend of theirs who's maybe not as much of a builder, or just, you know, likes Lego as a casual fan, but is down to try out this crazy experience with you.
Now, was it shot in Canada or shot down in the States or down here?
It was shot down in the States. Yeah.
I was surprised because there seems so much Canadian content on the show between the Calgary firefighters and the brother and sister that are like hockey. It's like, this just seems so Canadian. I think Will Arnett's Canadian too, right?
For sure. Yeah. It is the first season that's had Canadian contestants, though.
Oh, okay.
So I think, you know, they kind of enjoyed having an all-American cast for the first 2 seasons, which I totally get. It's called LegoMasters US Ultimately.
Yeah.
And, you know, even the trophy says LegoMasters USA on it and stuff. So, like, it's very heavily implied that this is an American show.
Yeah.
But, you know, we luckily do have our neighbors to the north.
Yes.
And I guess this year they decided some of us were fun enough or exciting enough or whatever you may want to call it, that they wanted to have us involved as well. And so I was honestly super stoked to see other Canadians there when I arrived, because I was expecting, just based on like, I don't know, I guess the fact that there were so many Americans, that it might not be likely that they'd have other Canadians.
Right.
And that, you know, they only had one slot to fill for a Canadian or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was a very fun surprise, and obviously it made it very easy to build fast friendships with my fellow Canucks.
Oh, good. Yeah, because I heard so many processes and projects. Like, man, this is all in Canada, but no. Because down here it's process and project and whatnot. So, but now I don't know if you can answer this one. When they give you the time, the 16 hours to build, is that you're there from 16 hours, or is there like a, you know, we'll do half today, tomorrow, that type of thing?
I'm sure you can imagine legally they cannot have people building for 16 hours straight. So again, it's a thing I can't quite go into detail with. Other past contestants have answered these questions online, so you can definitely find info on it.
No worries.
But yeah, I'm sure you can imagine that it is not all in one sitting.
And what was the toughest thing about, you know, being on the show?
I think it's very much an endurance thing.
Yeah.
People, again, online, like contestants online, have shared that a typical like schedule for a full season of the show is 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So like, as an example, the last season was 12 episodes.
Yeah.
So you can imagine squeezing 12 episodes of the show into 6 weeks is a pretty tight experience. So it's just like it's a marathon like nothing else.
Yeah.
And just requires a level of kind of energy and consistency that is really difficult to put into words.
Well, absolutely. And it's got to be tough for people who are like content creators like yourself, who most people I've talked to or have had on the podcast talk about, they can't take time off because they'll see that drop in viewership and things like that. So to pull away for 6 weeks, that's a huge commitment.
Yeah, for sure. It is a big thing. But I mean, at the end of the day, I did know going on Lego Masters would have benefits for a content creator. So of course it was a pretty easy trade-off to justify. And then again, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I hope all content creators out there would never be afraid to tackle a cool once-in-a-lifetime experience like that for the sake of, you know, oh, I'm worried about my numbers dropping and stuff. Because you have to ultimately weigh the pros and cons of like what's ultimately important for you and what's going to be fun and unique for you to do. But like again, the hours of it, like gosh, I wish I had done just like more endurance training. I think, if anything, before the show. Because it's just a level of exhaustion I don't think I've ever experienced in my life.
Actually, that was going to be one of my questions was, you know, if you had advice for somebody who was going to think about doing the show, that's, you know, just...
Yeah, it would be like practice Lego building techniques for sure. There's lots of great resources out there to explore, like how to motorize things, how to use Technic to help structure your builds, how to build faster. Admittedly, I think one of the things I'm realizing I wish I did more was like learn how to find ways to optimize building more quickly. And then it would just be like straight up like endurance. Like you are going to be exhausted, you're going to be tired. So the better prepared you are health wise for that, the better off you'll be for the show.
Cool. And what are a couple of memories that really stick out that you can share about being on the show?
I would say from the show, the one that jumps out to me right away from something that has aired already is the Corgi. In that there's been a very long-standing running joke within my community about Corgis. And that I do these things called viewer build requests. And I once built a fox. I think it was like supposed to be the Fox and the Hound. and someone came into the stream. I think their username is The Only Star. I remember who it is. And they were like, "That's a corgi," and I'm like, "No, it's not. It's a fox." And I think everyone just thought it was hilarious that, you know, I really didn't want it to be a corgi, and everyone was very insistent all of a sudden that it was. And so they just started requesting corgis all the time. Heck, I built one literally last night on another viewer build request stream. This is a corgi with a pilgrim hat juggling potatoes because I don't know why not?
Yeah.
Right. I'm literally doing them all the time. And so it was like the funniest thing in the world. And just to backtrack a little bit, like with all these corgis leading up with theirs, they were like, "Nick, you have to build a life-size corgi someday. You have to build us a life-size corgi. Like, you just have to do it." And I was like, "No, I'm never going to do that. That's ridiculous. Like, I don't care to invest in building such a large model of something I don't have that much interest in." I do think corgis are cute. I think they're fun. But, like, obviously I don't want, as a streamer, you never want to, like, admit to your chat that they're right or whatever, right? Yeah. So, I like swore off that I would never, ever build a life-size corgi. And then, behold, I get on Lego Masters, and one of the challenges is to build a life-size dog, and one of the dogs is a corgi. So, of course, I can't ignore the opportunity to make their dreams a reality on TV. So it was so wild that ended up happening, and I ended up getting to do that.
And I love the wiggling butt. That was such a cool thing.
I had to get the wiggling butt in there. You know, admittedly, a lot of people love the build and they love the wiggling butt, and they thought it was worthy of like being in the top or even winning. I couldn't disagree more. The build was actually a lot worse than the camera makes it look. But I will say the saving grace is definitely the butt wiggle. So I'm really glad I got that in there.
And now, you know, how does it feel after spending so much time building some of those creations and then having them just blow up?
You know what? I think you go into the experience knowing that this is likely. They've definitely set a precedent for Lego destruction in general. So you're certainly aware. And they don't have an unlimited resource of bricks. So even when they don't blow them up, they immediately get dismantled as soon as you're done with them. So you know none of these builds are going to last. I do think it's really cool that in the first challenge from the season, the winner actually now has their build on display in the Kennedy Space Center.
Oh, shoot.
So it's one of the few and like rare circumstances where your build actually gets to stay together. So that's really, really cool that they get to kind of have that commemorated. And I'm glad they're mixing it up with allowing stuff like that here and there.
And now here's a question from somebody who builds so much at home and has your Legos are organized a certain way. Now you go on set and they're organized, you know, I'm sure they're different how you organize your sets and pieces.
Yeah, fairly differently. But like certainly still, I think there's only so many different ways you can sort Lego. Like, I mean, I'm sure someone could come up with some very weird system that would make sense to absolutely no one. But like, you know, there are parts and colors and then colors and parts separately. And so like the bricks on set are pretty well organized, and they do help give you some information and some resources on how to figure out where things are. We had access to like an iPad with like a spreadsheet that we could search through and stuff. So there are a lot of resources out there to help us kind of figure that out. And so it really was pretty logical for the most part, to find the things that you needed.
And now from a building at home aspect, when you create your mocks, how long do you keep them around before you tear them down? Or
it's a little all over the place. Like some stuff I'll build just for the sake of taking the picture, and then I'm like pretty much done with it. Some things I want to maybe bring to Lego conventions. I do love going to Lego conventions, and there's a lot of them that happen throughout the year. So sometimes I'll build a bunch of stuff, take it to a convention, and then like knowing that it has been displayed for the world, let's say, I'm like kind of happy to know that those builds are done. And then there are ones that I just love so much that I never want to take apart. So I think like some of my oldest builds would be from like here, and they might be from like as early as like 2012 or 2013. So they've been around for like 10-ish years or so. So yeah, just when I fall in love with the build and I like it too much to take it apart, it'll just stay together forever.
Cool.
So
all right.
Yeah.
So now, what other content creators are out there that people should check out, do you think?
Gosh, that is a tough question, because there are so many great people out there. I really love my friend Bricksobrian. Me and him have become very close over the years. He does a lot more Lego adjacent content than like Lego focus content. He recently released a children's book. Oh, wow. He's someone I see out there, and he's also not partnered. And I think he's another one of those great people that's like a shining example of like how you don't need that check mark to show that you can do awesome things. So he actually just recently became a Hot Pockets ambassador through a contest that they had on socials, which was really, really cool. So he's just someone who's getting out there and crushing it. And he's super energetic, always like just bringing so much fun and energy to his content. So Bricksobrian would definitely be one of the first people that jump to mind.
All right, cool. And now after stream, you're not building. What happens after? What are some of the things you like to do when you have that energy?
Honestly, scrolling on Twitter, which is not, it's not a thing I like to do. It's just a thing I end up doing a lot of the time. I think it's just nice to kind of feel like you can shut off the brain a bit. You know, maybe pop into some video games here and there after a stream as well. Just a nice way to kind of cool off. Obviously, you know, I'm sure most gaming streamers don't go from streaming gaming for several hours on end to gaming. No. But I like to go from my Lego building to some gaming afterwards. Yeah. And then just like hanging out with my fiance, you know, just like chilling out, relaxing. So, yeah.
Now, what are some of the TV series you guys like to watch?
Oh gosh, I'm really bad with TV series in general. Like we're watching The Office because I had never watched it before. Yeah. So she's helping me get educated on The Office, which has been good. And then like we try to like help each other explore each other's like interest in shows. We've only been together for about 2.5 years now. Oh wow. So you know we're still pretty fresh in our relationship. So there's a lot of things we want to kind of expose each other to. So like we watched Avatar: The Last Airbender together. That's one of my all-time favorite series. And right now we're working through One Tree Hill, which is one of her favorite series. So it's just fun getting to kind of learn more about each other through the shows we like to watch.
Awesome. So any big plans happening this year? Any events that you're looking forward to?
Honestly, like I'm just excited for the continuation of the LegoMasters journey as it is. Again, it was one of the most fun experiences for me, and it's still ongoing, so we still get to live in the excitement of it each week. So yeah, I'm just like really enjoying that and trying to just make the most of all the fun things that are happening in and around it. And I don't think there's anything else I can really think of off the top of my head other than that, unfortunately. That's the most exciting thing in my life, and it is a pretty hard thing to beat. So.
That's the highlight right there. Absolutely. So now, so we're done the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. But before you go, you've got to shout out somebody who you think would make a good guest, potential guest, to come on and have a good story.
Ooh, a good potential guest. Honestly, I'm gonna jump back to my friend Bricksobrian. I think he's an excellent person to talk to. Has a lot of great insight to share, and has a very unique journey through streaming and content creation. So I think he'd be a great person to talk to.
Awesome. And now, what are some of the socials? Where should people find you?
You can find me on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all at BrickinNick. So BrickinNick. Awesome. Same everywhere.
Well, hey, thank you so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun chatting with you.